Welcome to another episode of the Cool Tools Show and Tell. Our special guest this week is Brent Deverman. Hey, Brent, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hey, Kevin. Really glad to be allowed to be on your show. Been listening for a long time. I'm based in Hong Kong. I studied computer science and East Asian studies, and immediately got a job in China, where I later on founded an internet-based media company providing services to tourists in English for the city of Shenzhen. And then after that, I found a job in Hong Kong working for CNN and have been here ever since, doing digital transformation projects for HSBC, DFS, and then now working for an insurance company. And in my digital journey, I've done a lot of experimented with a lot of tools and stuff, and have some good ones to show to you today.
Well, wonderful. I'm so eager to hear what you have to share with us, and thank you for volunteering. We appreciate it. So Brent, what's one of your favorite tools?
So, as I mentioned, I studied computer science, and I will share my screen to show you a new programming language that came from the Mozilla Foundation. It's called Rust. So I'll zoom in here. And so it's a programming language called Rust, which is, I think, over the last decade, we've seen an explosion of JavaScript and Python and these kind of scripting languages. Well, this Rust language is more of a low-level language, similar to C++. But I think one of its big objectives is to be more safe, so more memory safe, safer for doing concurrency. And so it's
Wait. When you say safe, I'm not really sure what you mean by safe. Safe.
so like in languages like C, there's a thing called a pointer, and programmers are expected to remember where that pointer is pointing and to make sure that it's always pointing to valid memory. And it's very hard for humans to actually do that flawlessly, and it introduces a lot of errors into the code, which means a lot of security vulnerabilities. And so that's how we end up with a lot of hacks on our phones and computers. And so this language, I think, was built from the ground up to try to prevent and avoid those kind of issues. So it has various concepts in it, like borrowing, which makes it so that you are never pointing to some point of memory that you didn't intend to point to.
Okay.
Um,
So
and
in addition to it maybe being more secure, inherently more secure, the
mhm.
apps written on it are inherently more secure. What are the other advantages that Rust has over, say, classic, like you say, C++? What are why should someone else consider this?
So it also comes with a package manager called Cargo. And I think if people are familiar with JavaScript, they're familiar, and Node.js, they're familiar with that package manager concept, which means that you can publish various libraries, and you can then use those libraries, and not have to rewrite things from scratch, and much easier to share those libraries, much like Node.js has that. And so that means you can really reuse things a lot easier. And so, for example, I can create a cargo. It's called the package manager, and I can and it just lets me create a new package, new application very easily. So I can type hello world, create a new one. Okay, so I already have that, so I can go to hello world in my directory, and you can see that it's already put some files there for me to manage what my dependencies are. So if all
Okay,
those various tools that are available.
sure.
um,
Okay, and
it,
there are some other capabilities. So what are the downsides to using Rust?
so downsides would be it's a little bit more complicated than say JavaScript or Python to learn. Compiled, so it's a compiled language, right? So you have to make sure you remember all the types of the variables, declare things as integers, floats, and more complex data types that you got to remember, and then wait for it to compile. But it'll give you a lot more helpful error messages if you do something wrong in your code, and then it should be more secure once you compile it and run much faster. So it'll run as fast as C, where it's kind of can be orders of magnitude faster than Python and JavaScript at sometimes.
Are there enough people using it that you could benefit from, say, like a Copilot or something, where you can get your AI to write scripts based on training on others?
Yeah, so it's come on my radar because a lot of command line tools are being rewritten in Rust because it's so much faster. And so there's a lot of developer tooling that's being rewritten that is being used by, say, the Node.js community or the Python community, and they're calling it. And so it's really gotten some momentum, and I think it's made it so that there's a lot of resources. I've got plenty of books about Rust. So this is one called Rust in Action. And I've just found many tutorials that make it pretty easy to learn. Yeah.
So I don't know how languages work nowadays, but I assume it's free. Anybody can get it.
Yeah, it's absolutely free. You can just go to rust-lang.org, and then you can use the script to install it on your Mac or
Is it open
PC.
source? Is it open
Yeah,
source?
it's open source, originally from the Mozilla Foundation. Yeah.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. So that's a great suggestion if you
Mhm.
are inclined to program. Consider Rust. So Brent, what's a second tool that you would recommend?
Okay, so my second software tool, that is one called Readwise. Okay, and it's a RSS reader. This RSS reader is uh, from a company that created a kind of information memorization tool called, and it's kind of one of these read it later products. So this is the homepage for, it's under Readwise. .io, and the product is called Reader, but they also have a product called Readwise that integrate together. So it's a very good RSS app, and for people that don't know, RSS is a tool that a lot of websites still support to follow what they've published recently, and so I'll subscribe to various Mac websites, Google searches on Rust. In newsletters, it also supports email newsletters that you can subscribe to and send to this. And then, you can click on the the article that you see, and you can, read about the Vision Pro, and it takes all the content usually from the website, and formats it in a standard way and can summarize it using AI on the side. Um, and so it's got a lot of keyboard shortcuts and iPhone version of this as well, and iPad as well. So I can, read and synchronize whatever I'm reading on the go, and it will kind of give you an idea of how long something is to read, as well as, you can easily go through your library and, categorize what you want to read, if you want to read it now or later.
And does it work a little? Well, first of all, RSS readers are been around for a long time, and they used to read mostly blogs. So when person was posting something, instead of going to the website,
Mhm.
get the RSS feed to your reader, and you would read them there as if they were a stream. So it was a way to kind of make a stream out of different blog posts and nowadays newsletters. And the big one was Google Reader, which had
Yep.
the most users, but then Google killed it, and there are a number of alternatives. This is one. So How does Reader compare to some of the other RSS feeders that you might have used or tried out?
Yeah, I mean, I think because of the way that Google had that architecture, a lot of other ones had kind of a site that you would set up your RSS, and then you'd have the client app that would log in and get those feeds and show it to you. And so I found it a little bit more complicated. Where this is um, uh, just one app that does everything. And then plus you can actually highlight text, and it'll kind of save it for later in the Readwise application. And the Readwise application can then quiz you on what you've read in the past. So there's like a daily review function in this other Readwise application, which is part of their subscription. And so you can be reminded of things you've highlighted. And so I have various highlights in various books and stuff, and can kind of review notes
Okay.
and keep information fresh and top of mind.
So I think what maybe you're suggesting is that another reader like Feedly or something is just simply reading it, but Readwise has the capability of somewhat like Evernote where you can actually can you save an entire
Save, yeah, yeah,
web page itself and not just
yeah. It basically saves the whole article. I can use the archive function
right,
to, after I've read it, to put it in the archive, and then I can search it later.
right,
So I can really keep a whole library of everything I've read.
right. And then you're
And
saying it also
mhm.
integrates with the Readwise app of doing book highlights,
Yeah,
which is what
exactly.
I
Yeah.
use it for. So I have my phone and I can
Hmm.
take a picture of a page of a book and it puts it into the archive for that book.
Yeah.
So, so Readwise, it does. Do you need a subscription to use the RSS reader?
Yeah, I think it's about $10 a month to use the RSS reader, which then I think includes the Readwise subscription as well.
Okay.
And so fairly reasonable. And I mean, it really prioritizes speed. So you can use keyboard shortcuts and get through your reading very fast,
Uh-huh.
similar to some of the mail tools like Superhuman, that prioritize speed.
hmm Okay. So Readwise, RSS reader, and Readwise app, which are integrated um,
Yep. Yep.
on your
Hmm.
phone.
Hmm.
That's a good one. Okay. So thank you. So Brent, what's another tool that you like to share?
Yeah, so living in Asia, I do a lot of day trips. So I'd often go up to Shenzhen for stay over the weekend and things like that, and maybe weekend trips to various parts of Asia like Singapore. And so I have a company that makes some very good bags. For just using in the city and also traveling. And so this is a company called Minaal, Minaal. They have a bag they call the Daily Carry is this one here. Um,
You're holding up a bag
yeah.
that's I would say a medium-sized bag,
Hmm.
kind of a largish day pack size, maybe a little bit in between a day pack and a backpack.
Yeah, exactly.
Hard to
So
know exactly
yeah,
how big.
this one's a day pack version. And so then it's it's very well designed with a pocket inside. It's kind of black, so it's a little bit hard to see maybe, but I'll try and stand up. So it's got a pocket for holding iPad and laptop
Uh,
that is kind of suspended in the bag. So if you drop it, it's unlikely to damage. I think it's kind of keeps my stuff safe. And it's just got a lot of good features for a hidden passport pocket as well, and great places to put say gym clothes and stuff like that. And then
and how does it compare to some of the other popular bag makers, Timbuktu or
I
yeah,
I've
no,
I've
there's so many. did you do a lot of research for this, or have you gone through a lot of bags yourself?
Yeah, I've gone through a few, and I have some friends that have as well. And this is kind of an older model. Uh,
It looks
it's
bigger,
yeah, this is more of the travel
right?
carry on to airplane one. And yeah, it's a bit bigger, but very similar function. And so I'll use that one for going to for short trips. And it's all I need. I can pack
Right.
everything I need in it. And I just found that like it's much more well thought out. Like, they really thought, of the essential things you need to carry. It's made by some guys that are, I think, digital nomads that have been traveling for a while
Hmm.
and, try to really optimize, to have only what they need. And
Hmm.
so I just find that they've really figured out, where the pocket should go, what pockets should have. Um, the last one I just showed you, I've had for quite a few years, and it, like they came out with a new version. And I was like, oh, it looks like a little bit better, but like there's um, no wear and tear on the one I have, so I can't actually even justify getting the new version because it's been so durable. So I find their products are good, and they also have very good support as well. One of my straps had broken, and they just sent me a replacement of the strap, and for free. So good support and very well thought out bags.
And so it's called a Minaal,
Minaal, M-I-N-A,
Minaal,
yeah, yeah,
and it looks like it's like $350. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and um, I don't know, it's what, 20, 30 liters? I'm wondering what the size actually is. But
Yeah, I forgot it's around that. It's around probably the big one's probably around 30, I think.
yeah, and so when you're saying from your own use of other bags that this seems to be a little more optimized for digital nomad, meaning that you've got, your laptops and your cords and uh,
Yeah, yeah,
other stuff that you would be taking mostly as uh, everyday carry, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, they have tech pouches as other accessories, where I can put in all my cords and stuff like that as
Uh-huh.
well. Pack that, and then they even include a let me find the oh sorry, it fell down. So they even include a shirt for packing your button down shirts and stuff. So this is uh, a case that you can pack your shirts in, and it includes a
Well, that's for the larger size.
yeah, this is for the larger size, and I mean it includes a
That's
packing
not in
guide.
focus because you have
Yeah,
your blurring background on.
sorry, let me turn off the blur. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, they include the packing size. They include where you can pack with instructions on how to pack your shirts and stuff like that.
You're holding up,
So
looks like a kind of a transparent plastic
yeah, yeah,
sheet that you would use to insert into a shirt. The idea,
yeah, and then you can pack the shirt with that sheet. Yeah. So
uh,
um,
and
that
I guess the thing about the bag, what I'm still trying to figure out is there are so many other bags available. Is how does it compare to, say, some of the other high-end digital bags? If it's sort of in the same league, or is there something that is distinctive about the Minnow?
I mean, I think it's durability. I mean, like I said, it's lasted me a long time. I've done many trips up to Shenzhen and back, and I, loaded up with a lot of gear, so laptop and usually iPad
Mm-hmm.
plus clothing, and so sometimes uh, if I take it on longer trips, it's pretty loaded with lots of heavy stuff, as I kind of tend to take a whole digital office with me, a whole
Okay.
portable office with me when I go for longer trips as well.
Okay, great.
Hmm.
Okay, Brent, so that's useful. So, Brent, what's your fourth favorite tool that you like to share?
Yeah, so the fourth tool is something that I never thought I would need, but I had a friend that also loves to travel, and we exchange a lot of travel tools, and he recommended I try this. So it's a um, I'll hold it up here. It's a travel router. Okay, and
So
so
it's
it's
about the size of, I don't know, an old cassette player, like a Walkman,
yeah, could
and
be.
it
Yeah.
has two apparently antennas that are kind of like rounded like a tongue depressor that flip up on the side.
Yeah,
And then, then it's hardwired. It's a landline. There's Ethernet going in, and there's some USB slots.
yeah, for power. Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So yeah,
How do you use
it
it?
has it has yeah, one uh outgoing port and two local ports as well. And so it's Wi-Fi 6. This version is the Slate AX from a company called GL iNet. I think they're based in Hong Kong actually. And so I never really thought I'd need this.
What do you use it
Uh,
for?
but what I do is, especially when I'm going on a longer trip and maybe staying at a hotel, um, and maybe you want to work from that hotel, I'll usually have a bunch of devices, and maybe I'm with my wife and she also has her devices, and so I just bring this and I can connect just this Wi-Fi router to the hotel Wi-Fi, um, and then
Wait. So you this router will pick up the hotel Wi-Fi. So there's no cable, right? You're just picking up the hotel Wi-Fi. And
yeah.
then what do you do with that?
Yeah, so there's multiple ways. So, you can, as you saw, you can do it, connecting to hotel Ethernet. But if a hotel doesn't have Ethernet, it can actually be a bridge to the hotel Wi-Fi. So you end up keeping all your devices on this router's network, and then this router becomes a bridge to hotel Wi-Fi. So you only have to connect the router to the hotel Wi-Fi once, and then all your devices can connect to the router. So that means you don't have to enter Wi-Fi passwords on every single iPad, iPhone, and Mac that you bring. They can just start working after you get this one set up. And so I find it just quite convenient. And it can also use it also has options to do a cellular connection as well. So like if the hotel Wi-Fi is not fast, but the 5G where you're staying is fast, it's also good. And I mean, like in one situation, it was very useful because we went to Indonesia for a weekend trip, and it turned out that the resort we were staying at allowed just one device per room. Um, and it was very slow internet. So by using this, I was able to get around the fact that we could only use one device per room,
Mhm.
and which meant my wife could still post to Instagram and I could still get some work done and stuff
Right.
like that as we stayed at the hotel.
Right.
So
So
um,
this is useful for travelers who have more than
mhm,
one device that
yep,
they want to get connected to Wi-Fi. And if you have a lot of them, it just saves a lot of
yep.
hassle because you just have one to log in. And presumably you log in, there's no screen or keyboard on this. You log in through one of your laptops to
Yeah,
set it
so
up.
it has admin panel that you can log into, which is fairly easy admin panel
Hmm.
that allows you to set it up. I mean, you do have to have some idea of networking and stuff, and how networking works, but it's not, you can learn it. It's not the hardest, and um, it has a lot of other functions for, VPN and encryption and stuff. So it also can help, maybe protect your data on public hotel Wi-Fi as well.
So does it have its own VPN? I'm really, or do you still have your,
Yeah,
what?
I mean, you can set it up to log into some of your VPN service providers like ExpressVPN or whatever. So then it can always be logged into um, you know,
Yeah.
a VPN, and then you don't have to worry about your laptop, your traffic as you go on hotel public Wi-Fi, right?
Right.
So
Okay. Um, and how much does that cost?
I think it was about 120 some dollars. I forget exactly, but yeah, they have various versions of this. This I think is probably one of the latest ones.
Uh,
And
this is called a Wi-Fi 6 travel router.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Wi-Fi
it
6, is that the brand?
Yeah, the company is called GLI Net, and the this model that I was showing is called the Slate AX, Wi-Fi 6 gigabit router in your
Hmm.
pocket. Yeah, so um, it it supports a lot of the public open source software that you can use, and it listed tons of VPNs on the product page. And so I found it to be something I never thought would be useful. It is another device to lug around, but it ends up being quite useful for security and just convenience and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, particularly if you have multiple devices or you're traveling with multiple people, I think
Yeah, yeah,
um, if you're probably just a single traveler with one laptop, it may not be as useful.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Um, well, that's great, Brent. Thank you for your suggestions and recommendations. Um, we have a few minutes to hear if you have something that you want to share with our audience, a passion project or something else you want to mention.
Yeah, I mean, so mainly I just wanted to come on your show because of all the great stuff you've been involved with, and it's I thought I had some good tools to share
You
after
did.
listening to hundreds of episodes. But I mean, yeah, if anybody wants to connect with me, I'm looking for. I just started my journey on learning this Rust language, and
Mhm.
really getting back into programming, and happy to connect with people that are interested in
Yeah.
learning, and especially in Asia, as I probably will start to organize some Rust meetups and stuff in Hong Kong or Singapore.
How are you
Um,
finding Hong Kong these days?
Hong Kong is gotten a bit better. It had some trouble times with a lot of protests and COVID, but now it's finally open, and events are back, and people are coming, and it's it's still like quite a great place to live. Lots of beaches and hiking and outdoor activities that people don't expect of such a busy metropolitan city with so many people.
Do you feel the effects of this sort of sluggish economy? Is that showing up at all?
Yeah, I still tend to see some, local businesses closing, restaurants closing and stuff. But there are also new things. But I think, yeah, it's not as go-go as it used to be before the protests happened, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, weather's pretty good still, and especially this time of year, and
And yeah,
quite convenient place to live.
I don't know much about working in Hong Kong versus say working in the rest of China, but if someone was interested in working in Hong Kong, do they have to master Chinese?
You don't really need it, but unfortunately, all the job descriptions that you're applying for will say that you need to speak Chinese. Yeah, and I think it's been kind of more and more a requirement that you know Chinese to be hired in Hong Kong, even though I speak Chinese, but I still get by without using it a lot in Hong Kong, and even talking to a lot of the mainland colleagues that I work with. So it can be a little bit difficult that way, but Hong Kong has introduced some policies for allowing there's some special talent programs where if you went to like I think they have a list of top 100 universities, and if you went to one of those, it can be very easy to get a visa. I think even without it really having a job.
You mean the
Um,
100 universities in the West?
yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
I mean, they will list it. It
Okay.
might be even in China too, and in Asia as well, and Australia they have some. Um, but so I think that's a scheme somebody young that's just out of school might look into if they want to
Uh-huh.
experience Hong Kong, where they can actually get here and live here and then try and find something, if once they get on the ground. I
Hmm.
was lucky that, when I was graduated from school, I found a job from from Michigan State University in Shenzhen, and it was quite rare at the time to be able to find a job online, um, working in China. But I was lucky to do
Yeah.
that.
Shenzhen is actually a pretty cool city in itself. Why do you prefer to live in Hong Kong versus Shenzhen?
Well, I mean, one of the big reasons I think is the Hong Kong still has open internet and I can and fast internet. Like it's very fast here. I've got, friends that have, 10 gigabyte internet connections and stuff and it's great. And if you live in China, it can be very interesting and but it is a very different internet. I mean, you have to get used to WeChat and using all the Chinese tools because like most of it is not accessible without a VPN, and even those are blocked sometimes. So, um, uh, for somebody like me in computer science, where I'm, trying to learn all the latest AI technologies and stuff, it's more interesting to be outside of
Mm.
China at this time, and even some tools such as ChatGPT. ChatGPT itself doesn't allow it to be used in Hong Kong. You have to use a VPN um, just because of the political situation, I think, between the US and China these days. So unfortunately, due to that, it's been a little bit more rough to stay on the cutting edge of a lot of the stuff that's coming out of Silicon Valley, while being in Asia, unless you're in, say, Hong Kong or Singapore. Yeah.
Hmm. And it's Hong Kong, even though it is technically integrated with China, does it still feel like it's outside of China?
Yeah, I mean, it still feels like it's outside. It's still very different. I mean, it's different currency. I mean, and it's still, much more English speaking. And you really still feel the British influence and Western influence in Hong Kong. So but yeah, I mean, it is getting more integrated and there's a lot more policies by the Chinese government to integrate Hong Kong with the Greater Bay Area, including Shenzhen and Guangzhou and all of those cities in the Pearl River Delta.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I suppose if anybody has questions about trying to make their way to Hong Kong to work, they might ask you a question or two.
Yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can put my LinkedIn in the show notes. People can
Mhm.
look me up as Brent Deverman on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to connect
Right.
with me these days. Yeah.
And where did you learn Chinese?
I studied Chinese at Michigan State University, and luckily that university had a lot of good study abroad programs. So I did a couple study abroad programs in 1996 and in 1998 in China at Tsinghua University, and then was able to get enough Chinese where I was able to
Yeah.
graduate and come to Shenzhen and live and use
Yeah.
it there. So it's great.
Beijing in the 90s was still pretty raw.
Yeah. There's good memories of that time being a student in Beijing.
Yeah.
It's very very fun time
Yeah.
to experience China and see it change so much. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy the amount of change.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Brett, for your volunteering. We appreciate the cool tools that you shared with us. And best of luck in your adventure with Rust in Hong Kong.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. It's very nice to talk to you, and thanks for all the tools you've introduced over the years and wisdom you've imparted on all the podcasts I've listened to you. It's great.
My pleasure.
Appreciate
My
it.
joy. Thank you. This year, our Cool Tools blog will be 20 years old, which means we've been posting something new every day for 20 years. It's only possible because of the very engaged and knowledgeable readers and listeners like yourself. You've kept this place going, and we are very grateful for you. With this idea of 20 years in mind, we decided to try an experiment this year, and I'm inviting our guests and listeners to join me on our Cool Tool Show and Tell, which is the program that you're listening to right now. So if you feel you'd make a good guest on this podcast and have 4 uncommon tools that you'd like to share with us, please sign up on our form on the website, and we'll see about inviting you. You must be comfortable talking on a video, and you need to have some tools that you can show. We record on, as you know, on Zoom. We do a YouTube version, a video version of it, as well as an audible version. Fill out the form if you're interested, and list your 4 cool tools, and we'll see if there's a good fit. The applications aren't guaranteed in any way, and we're looking at tools that are new to us and appropriate tools, and whether the times will work for you. So we're really interested in hearing from people all over the world, not just in the US, although the tools have to be available online, easily available online. And if you are a longtime listener, you kind of know what the definition of our tools are. They're very broad. They can be anything that's handy, from something in the kitchen to something you use to travel, to a workshop, to something professional that we may not know about. We're really interested in things that we don't know anything about. So this is an open invitation. We'll give it a try. If you think you make a good guest for this podcast, fill out the form. There'll be a link somewhere on our website. And we look forward to chatting with you. Thank you.